Hello and welcome back to the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z Teens podcast. This is the program that takes a lighthearted look at generational differences about all sorts of topics. We explore everything from pop culture to history to relationships to politics, but only at a very shallow level. We don't aim to be controversial or be the authoritative voice on any topic. We are not social scientists or scientists of any sort for that matter. We are just here to talk about the things that we think are important and are interesting and that we'll have fun talking about. Also, it is my opportunity to publicly and on the record prove that I am right and my teens are wrong in all cases, and that the 80s and the 90s were absolutely the best time to grow up. Our topic for today is social media. So social media in the 80s and 90s, what did that consist of? Well, actually talking on the phone and writing actual letters. Okay? There is absolutely no feeling in the world like getting actual letters in the mail. It's exciting, it's cool, and it's definitely, there's a part of me that misses it. There just really was something about getting a physical letter from some person that you could hold in your hand and reread. And that's why I think you'll find people from Generation X and the Boomers who still have collections. They kept their letters that they got in the past. And I think that's lost, that we don't do that now. But as things move forward with the introduction of the internet, we transition first to emails and then to, if you will, chat rooms where we could actually come up, and it was very convenient. It was basically free sending emails to people. And then chat rooms, you could actually do it real time. It was a lot of fun and a better way to actually keep in touch with people. It just took a little work, but it was more convenient actually, and certainly, and then cheaper than sending letters. But things really changed was when Facebook hit. Now, I was actually living overseas at the time, and there was a predecessor to Facebook called MySpace. Really can't talk much about that one. I didn't participate in that. However, I actually was fairly early on a person who got a Facebook account. Now, not the initial part with, I think it started on colleges, but shortly after it started to open up, I had a friend that encouraged me to get a Facebook account. And then it just sat there probably for almost a year before I ever did anything. But once Facebook really became mainstream, I think it was along the lines of what we all think social media is, and it certainly was at the time, which is it was a way to connect with people. Everybody got a Facebook account. And all of a sudden, you could start looking up people who you hadn't had contact with in years. It was very cool to see what people were up to. Old high school classmates, college classmates, work friends. It was a really interesting time. And I would say it was probably the heyday of what social media was in the sense of connecting people, more so than what it is now, because those good times did not last. In some cases, there's just a natural progression in a sense that you realized why some of the people you lost touch with, why you lost touch with them. You just drifted into different lives. And you know, there was also the joke of everyone who just posted pictures of their food or things like that were very personal to him, but then didn't really translate over. And the people that did that the most, I mean, at some point, it's just not relevant and it starts to be kind of annoying. And I think that was part of what happened. Second part is you can't ever get away from this with humans, but politics. When you started recognizing that you really didn't have a lot in common with some of the people, and some of the people, whether you're right or left or whatever, just didn't align with maybe your morals, values, or ethics, and so you allowed those relationships to pass away. The other one is, I would say, the rise of the professional trolls, the grenade launchers, the people who just get on there to start havoc, if you will, as well as the commercialization. I would say now I still have a Facebook account, but there's hardly anybody that actually posts personal thing, and I don't really use it as a way to connect with people. Most of my feed are all commercials of some sort, and I think that's what most social media has become. So today we're going to talk about, with my teens, just an overall impression of Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter. I personally, as you'll find out, I don't really like them for my teens, and they are restricted, but we're going to have maybe a little back and forth. The primary reason that I have concerns about it, and I've described this to my boys, is group chats. The way the dynamic works there, the conversation does not tend to elevate when you get multiple people into some sort of chat. It basically sinks down to the gutter. Maybe it's human nature in the sense of everybody's trying to outdo each other with more shocking things. Or, again, you've got the professional troll that's just going to start being a contrarian with everything. But that's part of the problem. And there is plenty of research out there that these things can do real damage to people. And governments are certainly in the process of having those debates and starting crackdowns. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. And let's start with the OGs, all right? Let's talk about Facebook. And from my older teen, tell me what you think about Facebook.
I don't know. Pretty much no one, at least in my generation, uses Facebook. It's kind of just an old people social media at this point. Yeah, I mean, nobody has a use for it. Nobody uses it. So it's just kind of all for older generations.
Okay, what about my younger teen?
Yeah, nobody uses it that I know. It's just middle-aged white people thinking random stuff is funny.
Okay, so neither of you have, again, a Facebook account. I don't see anybody on recommendations or anything that are really much younger than millennials. I really don't see young. Now, granted, I'm not friends with anybody like that, but like I said, most of my feed is all just commercials now. Okay, let's move on. Tell me what your impressions are of Twitter.
I think it's pretty similar to Facebook. There's not a lot of people in my generation that actually kind of use it for anything. The only thing I've ever really seen people use it for is like recruiting, sometimes for colleges, but that's it.
Yeah, nobody I know uses it.
Okay, I have a Twitter account, and actually I was really late to the social media Twitter, but then when I did get it, I actually really enjoyed it, more so for news. A lot of news breaks on Twitter early on. That said, now that Elon Musk has it and it's now X, I have noticed a change. I am not super active on Twitter. I really don't post very much, certainly not social stuff. But I have noticed that it is very partisan. It is very easy now to get into an echo chamber. And I'm actually kind of happy that you guys are not interested in Twitter. All right, now let's move on to the next one. So let's talk about Instagram. So first off, I do have an Instagram account, but I am not very active at all. I don't know the last time I've posted anything on Instagram. The history of Instagram, it started as basically a photo filter, and then Facebook bought it and kind of combined them. But let's talk about that and your impressions on, again, full disclosure, the older teen does have an Instagram account. The younger one does not, but that's been a struggle, and there's been definite restrictions that I've placed on it. So tell me what you think about Instagram and how you use it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the most popular social medias with my generation. And yeah, I mean, I use it, sometimes for watching like the Reels, which is kind of like a TikTok type thing on Instagram, just kind of short form video. But there's obviously all the posts, and then, when you're following all your friends and stuff, there's the DMs. So that's kind of what I use it for. The stories, the posts, and then just DMing people who maybe I don't have their number.
Okay, and the younger teen, like I said, he does not have a current account right now, at least as far as I know. We have had a little bit of an issue with that. But part of my problem with Instagram and part of it with social media is the distraction it causes to other parts of where they should be paying attention. So school in particular. Now, can you address, am I too conservative? Because there are restrictions on your use of Instagram, but do you want to say anything about, just am I wrong?
I think all I'm going to say is I think there's plenty of people who don't have any restrictions. There's not many people my age I know that still do have restrictions. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that.
Well, realize you do get a vote in that in the sense of your actions. So keep that in mind. All right. Before we get to the last one, we'll use TikTok next. Now, again, I have restrictions on there. I think TikTok is highly debated within. There's privacy concerns, and then just the fact of how, if you will, addictive TikTok can be. So, again, can you tell me, because I have it restricted, but you've had it in the past. Talk to me a little bit about TikTok.
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to use it, and I think, at least kind of from my experience, it definitely was one of the more, I would say, addicting social media apps that I've used. But no, there's pros and cons to it. I don't really care too much now about not having it. It's not really something I miss. Instagram kind of fills that void for me. But I think, there's some cool stuff on TikTok. It can be fun, but I think it definitely is more, or one of the more addicting social media platforms for people.
Okay. Well, hold on. My younger teen, you've seen TikToks, correct? So just tell me what you think about it. Is that something that you're going to want in the near future or not?
I don't really want it because, Instagram is kind of just the same thing and more. And yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. For full disclosure, I do not have a TikTok account. I just don't care. There's plenty of entertainment for me that I don't need to sit there and scroll through those videos. All right. This is the one, all right, that we've had the most issues with. Snapchat. I have a Snapchat account, but I don't use it. I don't really like Snapchat. I don't see the purpose of it for me in my life. However, we have had lots of issues with this one. This is the one that has given me concern as a parent that you spend too much time on. And, it's very much restricted right now. Snapchat, again, started mostly as a photo filter and then moved on. So again, talk to me about Snapchat, and you're welcome to make your pitch to try and get more access, but just tell me a little bit about Snapchat, because I do know that is a popular one for your generation, correct?
Yeah, I would say second to Instagram. It's kind of the most popular. And that's kind of one of the two things. There's not many, when you meet somebody like your age, there's usually not asking for numbers. Usually it's what's your Instagram or what's your Snapchat. But yeah, it's, again, sort of similar to Instagram. It just kind of lets you connect to your friends. You have your stories. You can send snaps. You can message people. I don't know. It's like a way of being able to keep in touch with people that maybe you don't feel necessary to have their number or something. And it's just another way. I think it's definitely something meant for high school people. I think if you're past college and you still have a Snap, there's not really much you could do with that. It's just kind of whatever. So I think it's just something kind of meant for our generation, but it's hard to explain. But yeah, everyone uses it, so it's just kind of what we use to do some stuff.
Okay. Now, again, my younger teen does not have a Snapchat account, but is that something that you are looking forward to? Are you highly anticipating or ready? You feel that you're ready and want one as soon as you can get one?
Yes.
Okay. So you do want one. All right. Well, again, behavior ultimately trumps it and whether or not you appear to be able to use it. Okay, so let me ask this. So technically the age restrictions for all of this social media is 13. I will admit, yes, you guys even got some accounts that were younger than that. That being said, all right, do you think that there should be age? Because that is hot, age restrictions. That is hotly debated right now.
Yeah, actually, I completely agree with that. I think 13 is probably, a pretty good age, kind of around 13 or 14. I think honestly, as you're leaving middle school going into high school, that's probably around the right time for a lot of this. I got through middle school without social, so, and yeah, I mean, I just think it's better off that we don't have middle schoolers on social media. But I think once you reach high school, that's kind of the point where you're starting to kind of need to grow up. And if you can't handle having a social media, then how are you going to handle living on your own? So I think sheltering somebody from that is not beneficial.
Okay. And for my middle schooler,
I think there should be an age restriction because you don't need 9-year-olds getting addicted to Instagram and TikTok, and I think the age restriction should be 14. Right as you're getting out of middle school, getting into high school, that should be the age because that's when you start meeting more people, and those connections last longer.
Okay, and my philosophy on it, again, I am with you in the sense that you need to start learning how to use these and manage your time and address your priorities prior to leaving the house and trying to live on your own and then having the socials overwhelm you. But it is not an easy balance as a parent. Okay, does anything change, or are you guys aware the fact that just recently the CEOs of many of these companies were in Washington, D.C., and most of them said that they have restrictions on their children. What do you think about that?
I don't think that's that surprising. I think, especially early on, I mean, I think it kind of depends on how old you are, but yeah, I think early on there probably should be some levels of restrictions, at least to kind of guide initially. But I think eventually it's kind of similar to like someone growing up and leaving the house, where you kind of gotta just let it happen, because otherwise, it's just, they're never gonna learn, I guess. You kind of gotta let them, leave the house in a sense and experience the world at some point.
Okay. Yes, I mean, I do agree with that, but I think there's a lot of people out there that didn't realize that, in particular, the CEO of Snapchat, I mean, he doesn't let his children use it very much at all. So I just thought that was interesting when they were on record saying that. So with that, what do you see? Is there anything like Facebook was everywhere? It's still a big platform, but because it's worldwide and because it was one of the original ones, but you guys are not interested in that. You mentioned you see yourself moving on from Snapchat. Is that just because you realize, in a sense, that you think you'll have a smaller group of tighter relationships, or do you really see that there's still going to be a big place for social media?
Well, I think there's always a place for some sort of social media, but I mean, social media is ultimately based on who's using it. And obviously, again, like going back to Snap, it's a very teen-focused, teen-heavy app. So once you're an adult, there's not really much to do there because there's not many adult users. So why would you still need it? So I think that's kind of where it comes down to. Yeah, I mean, social media is only as important as the people who are using it. So.
Okay, so word out to the CEOs. Okay, well, I think that's all that we have for today. If there's no final thoughts or anything that you guys want to add, and I'm getting head nods, nope, not going to happen. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good conversation. I think it's interesting. Again, we have an evolution. There's been some degree of stress and trying to figure out the right balance for all of this, particularly in regards to school. But as I've mentioned to both of you, your actions will dictate how much and how much rope we give you in regards to social media. I am happy, though, that at school, I think in most cases they take the phones away and you put them in there when you start class, so it's less of a distraction, because that has been a concern. And I think that's the right thing to go. Again, this is never going, if you will, the genie's never going back in the bottle, so I think we all have to just learn to get through it and be as safe as we can. So that's all I think we're going to talk about today. Obviously, there's a whole bigger realm of stuff that, talking now about individually going into things and horror stories and whatnot that are out there. But I think that's a podcast for a different day. So with that, I think we'll close this one up. Thank you to my two teens for indulging in this. We look forward to everyone listening in to future episodes. And this has been the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z teens. Take care.